A man spent all his savings just to take his wife on a world tour. Buying an old military vehicle from the last century, over the course of a year, he personally transformed the battle-scarred off-road vehicle into a 6x6 all-terrain apocalypse motorhome. I was so envious that I nearly broke 6 molars grinding my teeth. Early in the morning, Cliff and his wife headed straight to the military camp, where they found a batch of Volvo C304s produced in 1974. Back then, these vehicles were primarily used as field combat vehicles. Though they might seem unremarkable today, they featured 6-wheel drive and 3 differential locks, so even if a Mercedes G-Class showed up, it would have to take a back seat. The roof had a machine gun turret that could later be converted into a panoramic sunroof. The vehicle's cabin, though seemingly small, was originally designed to carry over a dozen soldiers, so space wasn't an issue. However, faced with a pile of rusted scrap metal, Cliff had to pick the best among the worst. Even so, the interior looked like it had seen countless battles, completely devoid of comfort. With the armrest box nowhere to be found, on the bright side, the lack of interior trim made it easier to assess the vehicle's condition. When the engine finally roared back to life, Cliff felt reassured, but the battered chassis was in desperate need of a full restoration. The first thing he did after bringing the vehicle home was disassemble all 8 wheel hubs. Surprisingly, the internal condition was better than expected. Just replacing the brake pads would solve the aging braking system. The universal joints could still last another 2.5 years, provided they were polished, repainted, and coated with fresh grease along with new dust covers. The workload didn't seem overwhelming, but working on all 6 wheels took 2.5 weeks. Thankfully, his wife and son stayed by his side the entire time, keeping him motivated. Cliff painted the rear axle and driveshaft black, making the chassis look much tidier. The only remaining outdated part was the fuel tank, which he carefully removed and handed over to his wife for sanding and refurbishment. It seemed like he still held some status in the household. Meanwhile, Cliff scoured the second-hand market and found a Mercedes transmission, hoping to upgrade the vehicle's power output. After all, the original military truck barely managed 40 miles per hour, hardly suitable for off-road adventures. He disassembled and serviced the transmission, a task only possible because of his 2.5 years of automotive repair experience. Meanwhile, his wife and son were handling other household chores, perhaps proving that when some people enjoy a peaceful life, others are carrying the weight. The next day, he installed the refurbished fuel tank, marking the near completion of the external modifications. When the engine started up successfully on the first try, Cliff's confidence soared. To properly renovate the interior, he stripped out the aged floorboards, old linings, and rotten soundproofing foam. His wife used a hammer to repeatedly knock out the dents in the bodywork. Only after this step could they apply new soundproofing materials. By this point, 2.5 months had passed, yet the vehicle still didn't resemble a motorhome. The following day, Cliff removed the front bumper and filled in the holes on the vehicle's body. After all, even a battle-hardened veteran deserved a dignified retirement. With all the glass removed, the vehicle was ready for a fresh coat of paint. Just as clothes make the man, paint makes the car. Now, its appearance could rival a luxury motorhome, at least until you stepped inside. Cliff pre-installed insulation throughout the cabin to ensure it would be warm enough for winter camping. Then, he laid down the flooring. The cockpit was more cramped and required precise handling. Each wooden panel had to be cut to the exact shape, with pre-drilled screw holes to ensure a seamless fit. The seat backs were also decorated with matching wooden panels for a unified aesthetic. The battery pack was placed at the front, taking up no space in the living area. Across from it, a diesel heater was installed to eliminate concerns about heating during travel. Since the rear seats were badly worn, and even the folding stools were rusted beyond repair, Cliff decided to replace them entirely. Crafting replicas from scratch, the process was tedious, but having full control over every detail ensured the final result was nothing short of perfect. As the heart of an all-terrain expedition motorhome, the driver's seat was paramount. Cliff replaced it with an ergonomic seat and swapped out the decades-old headlights. As the vehicle's exterior became more impressive, the couple couldn't resist taking it for a test drive in the wild. However, they soon realized that the suspension was too stiff. To fix this, Cliff removed the leaf spring suspension, polished and repainted each spring, and installed independent shock absorbers on every wheel to improve comfort. He also upgraded to larger, puncture-resistant tires, with 6-wheel drive and differential locks. This vehicle would handle any rugged terrain with ease. The cabin offered decent space, but Cliff still couldn't stand up straight inside. Luckily, the rooftop tent they had ordered arrived just in time. It folded open via a winch without consuming much power and was spacious enough to comfortably accommodate the entire family. Installing it required cutting an opening in the roof and using a forklift to carefully hoist it into place. The precision cut dimensions left no visible gaps, and after securing it with screws and wiring it up, the living space doubled instantly. With its four-sided ventilation and panoramic views, the rooftop tent was perfect for stargazing. A retractable awning on the sides served as an outdoor restroom. Though nighttime trips would be a hassle, the interior walls were lined with wood panels, cut with precision, and coated with anti-corrosion, moisture-resistant wax oil. The vehicle's metal frame provided sturdy anchor points for screws, allowing for a seamless fit. At the same time, Cliff pre-routed all the wiring for future modifications. He covered the door panels with acrylic sheets and installed a sliding window with sealant for ventilation. To ensure the vehicle was well lit at night, he cut holes in the wood panels to install numerous LED bulbs. Covered in soft fabric, these lights not only illuminated the interior but also subtly defined the upstairs bedroom area. Cliff was a master at space utilization. The first floor of the cabin was designated as a kitchen and storage area. Despite its compact size, it housed every essential facility. The wheel wells were enclosed in wooden paneling, creating space for two 74-liter water tanks, which could be refilled using an external pump. After months of working with wood, Cliff had become highly skilled. He built a custom wooden storage box to conceal a portable toilet, complete with a ventilation fan and a pipe leading outside. The heater and battery pack were also enclosed in custom compartments to prevent movement while driving. For the kitchen, Cliff measured and cut openings in the countertop for the sink. Meanwhile, his wife bought a 12-volt car fridge with a 113-liter capacity, enough to store food for the family's adventures. To power everything, they installed ultra-thin solar panels on the roof, which wouldn't add extra weight. To maximize storage, they mounted storage boxes under the chassis and installed additional shelves on both sides of the cabin, practical and stylish. However, one final piece was missing before they could embark on their journey: a massive wraparound awning. Once installed, it could transform any location into a cozy outdoor patio. After an entire year of work, Cliff finally invited his wife for the grand unveiling of their mobile home. She organized their belongings while Cliff ceremoniously smashed a champagne bottle against the vehicle's front, an old tradition symbolizing good luck. With their son on board, the family set off on an exciting and unknown adventure.